The Secret People by G.K. Chesterton. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Clare in July 2007 in Birmingham, England. Smile at us, pay us, pass us, but do not quite forget, for we are the people of England that never has spoken yet. There is many a fat farmer that drinks less cheerfully. There's many a free French peasant who is richer and sadder than we. There are no folk in the whole world so helpless or so wise. There is hunger in our bellies, there is laughter in our eyes. You laugh at us and love us, both mugs and eyes are wet, only you do not know us, for we have not spoken yet. The fine French kings came over in a flutter of flags and dames. We liked their smiles and battles, but we never could say their names. The blood ran red to Bosworth, and the high French lords went down. There was naught but a naked people under a naked crown. And the eyes of the king's servants turned terribly every way, and the gold of the king's servants rose higher every day. They burnt the homes of the shaven men that had been quaint and kind, till there was no bed in a monk's house, nor food that man could find. The inns of God where no man paid, that were the wall of the weak, the king's servants ate them all, and still we did not speak. And the face of the king's servants grew greater than the king. He tricked them, and they trapped him, and stood round him in a ring. The new grave lords closed round him, that had eaten the abbey's fruits, and the men of the new religion with their Bibles in their boots. We saw their shoulders moving to menace or discuss, and some were pure, and some were vile, but none took heed of us. We saw the king as they killed him, and his face was proud and pale, and a few men talked of freedom, while England talked of ale. A war that we understood not came over the world, and woke Americans, Frenchmen, Irish, but we knew not the things they spoke. They talked about rights, and nature, and peace, and the people's reign, and the squires, our masters, bade us fight, and never scorned us again. Weak if we be for ever, could none condemn us then. Men called us serfs and drudges, men knew that we were men. In foam and flame at Trafalgar, on Albuera plains, we did and died like lions, to keep ourselves in chains. We lay in living ruins, firing and fearing not the strange fierce face of the Frenchman, who knew for what he fought. And the man who seemed to be more than man, we strained against and broke, and we broke our own rights with him. And still we never spoke. Our path of glory ended, we never heard guns again. But the squire seemed struck in the saddle. He was foolish, as if in pain. He leaned on a staggering lawyer. He clutched a cringing Jew. He was stricken. It may be, after all, he was stricken at Waterloo. Or perhaps the shades of the shaven men, whose spoil is in his house, come back in shining shapes at last, to spoil his last carouse. We only know the last sad squires ride slowly towards the sea, and a new people takes the land, and still it is not we. They have given us into the hands of the new unhappy lords, lords without anger and honour, who dare not carry their swords. They fight by shuffling papers. They have bright, dead, alien eyes. They look at our labour and laughter as a tired man looks at flies. And the load of their loveless pity is worse than the ancient wrongs. Their doors are shut in the evenings, and they know no songs. We hear men speaking for us of new laws, strong and sweet. Yet there is no man speaketh as we speak in the street. It may be we shall rise the last, as Frenchmen rose the first. Our wrath come after Russia's wrath, and our wrath be the worst. It may be we are meant to mark with our riot and our rest God's scorn for all men governing. It may be beer is best. But we are the people of England, and we have not spoken yet. Smile at us, pay us, pass us, but do not quite forget. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Railroad Hour. From Hollywood, here comes the star-studded show train. Tonight, your railroads, through the Association of American Railroads, present Rio Rita. In our star-studded cast, you will hear the host of our series, Gordon MacRae, and 4 famous guest stars, Margot, Marion Hutton, and Sweeney and March, with a great cast of Hollywood featured players, including Alan Reed, Elvia Allman, and Paul Frees. Our choir is under the direction of Norman Lubov, and the entire production is set to the music of Carmen Dragon's Orchestra and brought to you by the American Railroads. The same railroads that bring you most of the food you eat, the clothes you wear, the fuel you burn, and all the other things you use in your daily life. And now, here is Gordon MacRae.
Thank you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Gordon MacRae helping to bring you another in our series of musical successes. Tonight, the Railroad Hour Show Train presents a show that was originally produced on Broadway by the great Florenz Ziegfeld at the Ziegfeld Theater. So let's ring up the curtain on Rio Rita, with book by Guy Bolton and Fred Thompson, and lyrics and music by Joseph McCarthy and Harry Tierney. In our performance this evening, I play the part of Jim Stewart, who falls in love with Rio Rita, played for us by Margot. Marion Hutton is Dolly, a cabaret dancer. Hal March takes the part of the lawyer Ed Lovett, and Bob Sweeney plays his client, Chick Bean. Well, in every show there's a villain, and tonight, Mr. Alan Reed plays the part of a very bad hombre named General Esteban.
General Romero Joselito Tomas Miguel Armando Esteban, if you don't mind, senor. And if I am, like you said, the bad hombre, maybe we have the more fun that way, eh? Anyway, you come with me to Mexico, eh? From Texas, we crossed the Rio Grande and arrived pronto in the little town of San Luca, where I am head man, and where, for some strange reason, I own the Esteban Hotel, the Esteban Department Store, the Esteban Building, and the only floating nightclub in all Mexico, which is called the Club Esteban. It is getting dark pretty quick now, and I'm thinking of going into the Cafe Esteban for my supper, when down at the end of the Avenue Esteban, there comes a bunch of those Texas Rangers approaching on horses' backs.
When you roam, you're not alone. For when you belong to the Lone Star Rangers, and
They stop their horses in front of my hotel. One of the Rangers, he gets off his horse and tags a piece of paper onto a pole. Then, without he says one word, he gets back onto his horse and they all ride off down the street, singing, just like was a musical comedy.
we're all pals together, comrades for
I go over and read the paper, and when I am finished, I notice a very beautiful girl which stands by the hotel. Then, all of a sudden, a man steps out from the dark shadows. You know who that man is? It's me. So I grab her by the arms to keep her from making the scrams.
Take your hands off of me, General Esteban. Take them off.
Bastante, you are the spitfire, my Rita. I only wish to make conversation with you. Tell me, you seen the notice the Rangers just put up?
No, what is it?
It is a reward of $10,000 offered for the man who robbed the Texas State Bank of South Fremont last month.
Do they know who it is?
They only know he is the kinkajou.
I am not interested in the kinkajou.
See, you are only interested in this strange Americano, this gringo.
Gringo, all the time gringo. Do you not know that my father was a gringo too?
See, I know this. And I know also that you claim to be Americano. But that does not say you are half Spanish. Now tell me, what is the name of this gringo?
It is none of your business.
I know his name. It is Jim. What does he do here in San Luca?
You know everything, so you must know that.
No, that I do not know. But I am going to find out, and pretty quick. Me, General Romero, Joselito Tomas Miguel Armando Esteban, am the head of this district. And I do not like the stranger which is mysterious.
And me, Rita Maria Dulcinea Maggie Ferguson, I do not like the people which do not like the people which I like. So, I go.
Wait, not before I have the kiss. Eh?
Let
Come
go
on.
of me, let go of me. Jim!
No, he cannot hear you now.
You're wrong, Butterball. Now back up and play nice.
Oh, Jim.
You call me names, huh, gringo? You make to me the insult, eh?
Insult? But butter at 90 cents a pound?
So you are the smart Alex, eh? Okay, smart Alex, I'm going to tell you something. Get out of San Luca. Hasta la vista, senorita. Think it over, gringo.
Oh, Jimmy, I am afraid of that man. He can do anything in San Luca.
As long as he can't make you love him, that's all I care about.
Oh, Jim, you know he cannot do that.
Then don't worry. In a few days, I'll be through with the job that brought me down here, and then...
And then you go back home?
Only if you go with me.
Oh, I want so much to see your so lovely house in Texas and your so lovely dog.
And don't forget the so lovely river that runs along the foot of the garden.
Is it nicer than the Rio Grande?
Oh, no river is nicer than the Rio Grande. Do you know why?
Yes, I know why. But I like to hear you tell me again.
Down by the river Rio Grande, on its silver sand, that's where I found you. And now my heart's at your command, want to be near your hand, lingering around you. For love like mine, is there no returning? Give me one sight, my heart. Above is one day your lips will say I love you. Rita, senorita, here is my heart. Here is my heart.
see my lovely Rita look at this gringo with the calf's eyes makes me very mad. So I walk away. And what do I see? Dolly Smith, a girl which dances for me in my cabaret, and a man named Chick Bean, which also works for me, driving up in an automobile which said, just married. I watch Dolly go upstairs in the hotel with bag, and I'm just about to go over and speak to Chick when that gringo lawyer, Ed Lovett, beat me to it.
Nice bundle of thread that just went upstairs, Chick. You know her?
Slightly. She's my wife.
Your wife? When did you get married?
About 15 minutes ago, and I'm still happy.
Now, look, Chick, I'm your lawyer, and you had no business getting married without consulting me. This Mexican divorce of yours is no good. I received this letter from your first wife's lawyers. Read it and weep.
Okay. What? Why, Ed, she calls me a bigamist.
And she's right. Of all the fools, you are the bigamist.
Well, what's the penalty for bigamy down here in Mexico?
The same as it is in the United States. 2 mothers-in-law.
Well, what am I going to do, Ed?
About 5 years in jail.
Well, I'll never be able to do that long.
Well, the law doesn't expect miracles, kid. Do as much as you can. Now, here's the situation. Until I can get the first Mrs. Bean to accept the divorce, you and the young lady you've just married must live as far apart as the poles.
Well, do I have to tell her now?
Yes.
Well, wouldn't tomorrow morning do?
No.
Oh, Chick! Chick, darling!
Here she comes now. Be sure to tell her the honeymoon's off. See you later.
Chick, who was that?
Mr. Lovett, my lawyer. He's a fellow lodge member. He wants me to go on a hunting trip with him.
Hunting? When?
Tonight.
On your wedding night, you're not going to go hunting.
Well, it would be original, wouldn't it?
Why, Chick Bean, how can you be so cruel? And on our wedding night.
Oh, I want time to think things over.
This is no time to think. You're always in my arms, but only in my dreams. In dreams, you're always near, sweetheart. We're always 'neath the palms, so happy then it seems, so near and yet so far apart. If I could only hold you, really, tell you all my love sincerely, how I adore your charms, you're always in my arms, in dreams, but only in my dreams.
I decide there is no use wasting my time on Dolly, so I go see what Rita is doing. And where do you think I find her, huh? In Jim's arms.
You're always in my arms, but only in my dreams. In dreams, you're always near, sweetheart. How I adore your charms. You're always in my arms, in dreams, but only in my dreams.
The Placci is getting too deep for you, eh? For me, too. Because later I hear Rita's brother, Roberto, talking with the lawyer, Senor Lovett.
Senor Lovett, because my sister and I claim American citizenship, we have lost our rancho. I must leave here tonight, so I sold all our cattle.
How much did you get?
2,000 American dollars. Can you change it into Mexican money for me?
Well, let's see. $1 is worth about 4 pesos. That makes 8,000. Suppose I give you 5,000 pesos for it.
But I lose money, senor.
Well, a fella's got to live. Take it or leave it.
I take it.
I hear you are. Keep it in a safe place, my boy. There are dishonest men in this town.
Si. Gracias, senor.
Gracias.
Adios.
Yeah. Not bad, not bad.
Un momento, senor lover.
Huh?
Let me see that money.
Okay, Esteban. I'll hold on to what you just looked.
Just like I think. Those dinero are from the State Bank in Fremont, Texas.
So it's from the State Bank of... Hey! That's the bank the Kinkajou robbed. You don't think I'm the Kinkajou, do you, Esteban?
Who cares? The Kinkajou big hero in San Luca. But be careful, senor. Do not let the Rangers catch you with that money.
Gosh. What am I going to do with this money?
Hey, Ed, can you change some Mexican pesos into American money for me?
Chick, you're a very lucky man. It just so happens that I have about $2,000 with me.
Oh, thanks, pal. Here are 10,000 pesos for it.
Don't mention it, pal. The pleasure was all mine.
Well, this money's going to have to last me a long time, boy.
It will, pal. About 15 years. The Rangers. Well, let's scram out of here. Oh, well, it's too late now.
Here's the old song of the Ranger. It's called Get Your Man.
What's going on here?
Jim, what are you doing in a soldier's suit? I thought you were Rita's new sweetheart.
But I'm also Captain Jim Stewart of the Texas Rangers.
Oh.
Whoa, what do you know? Can I buy you a drink?
Thanks. Say, wait a minute. That money, where did you get it?
Well, see you around, fellas.
Hold that man.
What's the matter with this money?
It was stolen by the Kinkajou.
The Kinkajou? Well, hiya, Kinky.
No, you can't pin that on me. I just got it from Roberto Ferguson, Rita's brother.
Rita's brother?
Sure.
Then he must be the Kinkajou.
Gosh, Jim, you can't arrest Rita's brother.
Oh, yes, I can. Are you with me, boys? When the Rangers come to town to settle up or settle down, they're in their heyday.
Because it's payday.
There's a bottle, laugh, a joke, a heck of a night, and then you're broke because tomorrow
we'll have to borrow.
We'll find this consolation when we haven't got a dime. Our job's a big vacation and a darn good time. We're all pals together, comrades, birds of a feather, rootin' pals, tootin' pals, scootin' pals, shootin' pals, in rain or sunshine. We stand for law here, that's what we're for here. And when we're about, you'll hear them shout, you better look out for the Lone Star Rangers, Texas way.
We're all pals together, comrades, birds of a feather, rootin' pals, tootin' pals, shootin' pals, shootin' pals, in rain or sunshine.
We stand for law here, that's what we're for here. And when we're about, you'll hear them shout,
You better look out for the Lone Star Rangers, 'cause we're the Rangers, man to man.
And so the curtain falls on the first act of Rio Rita. The Railroad Hour show train will return in just a moment. Meanwhile, just a reminder that 30 years ago this week, this coming Thursday, the guns were quieted along the Western Front. No one who experienced it can forget that first Armistice Day. So this is a week for remembrance of those who brought us victory in 1918, and of the other men and women who in the Second World War once more fought to preserve the things that make America free. Many of these men and women were railroaders. Some of them, the 30-odd thousand men of the military railway service, were soldier railroaders in foreign lands. They ran during the war period the railroads in 19 different countries located on 4 of the 5 great continents of the earth. Others of these railroad men served with other elements of the transportation corps of the Army and with the transport services of the Navy to provide the worldwide movement of men and material and supplies so essential to victory. Still other railroaders had no connection with transportation during the war. They were soldiers, sailors, airmen in the armed services of their country. Altogether, from the ranks of the railroads, there went into the armed services of the nation more than 350,000 men and women. an army in themselves. To them, and to the millions of other Americans who were in the service of the country in the 2 world wars, the nation owes the grateful remembrance of which this Armistice Week is a symbol. We return now to Rio Rita, starring Margot, Marion Hutton, Sweeney and March, and your host, Gordon MacRae.
Tonight I am giving big party on my patio. I am working out big plans in my mind when Dolly comes out of the house with many of my guests, all laughing and having one swell of a good time.
Good evening, General.
I am glad to see you all enjoy my party. Where is Rita? You see her, Dolly?
No, not since dinner time.
Ah, there is the musicians. Let's waltz, eh?
Aw, now you can't waltz to that music. That's the kinkajou they're playing, the new dance they've named in honor of that bold, bad bandit.
How do you do it, Dolly?
Well, the principle of the thing is, don't let your left hip know what your right hip is doing. Now you watch. Senor, when you do the kinkajou, you'll dance before you think you do. You clown around, you're feeling oh so lazy, for you know you're shouting whoops-a-daisy. First you feel a kinkajou, but here's the kick for you. Your one desire is to acquire each movement of this dainty dance. 'Twill thrill you through. Oh, I know it will entrance you when you do the kinkajou.
When you do the kinkajou, you dance before you think you do.
You clown around, you're feeling oh so lazy, for you know you're shouting whoops-a-daisy.
First you feel a kinkajou, but here's the kick for you.
Your one desire is to acquire each movement of this dainty dance. Will thrill you through. Oh, I know it will entrance you when you do the kinkajou.
You are wonderful, my little Dolly. Come, give your old friend a kiss, eh? Once more, the encore, eh?
Hey, take it easy, General. Your good conduct medal is sticking me.
Just a minute, General Esteban. Don't forget, that's my wife.
Why, Chick, I didn't think you remembered.
Well, look, Dolly, I haven't told you the truth about us.
Well, what do you mean? We're married, aren't we?
Well, that's just it, honey. You heard about the secret society of the Poison Fang, haven't you?
No, but I got a sneaking hunch I'm gonna.
Huh? I'm an honorary member, baby, and honorary members aren't allowed to marry until they get permission from the head tiger.
Oh, they're not, huh? Well, who is the head tiger?
My lawyer, Ed Lovett.
Well, then let me at him. Where is he?
Looking for someone?
Who are you?
Your husband's lawyer, Ed Lovett.
So you're the...
Hey!
Hold that tiger!
Hey!
Hold that tiger!
Tiger, what is this? Chick, have you been lying to this lovely girl? Haven't you told her yet that you have another wife?
Another wife? You've got another wife, Chick Bean? Why, you bluebeard, you!
Oh, Dolly, that's just a 5 o'clock shadow.
Don't you touch me, Chick Bean. I want to be a real wife, not a member of a syndicate. Goodbye!
Dolly! Oh, you're not a lawyer, Ed. You're just a fight promoter. Now, Dolly's just as mad as hops. Now, you got to do something.
I already have. I talked to your first wife, Katie, on the phone, and she's coming down here.
Oh, no! Not her, not Katie. Haven't I got troubles enough?
Oh, don't get all excited. She won't be here for 2 days.
Oh, that's just dandy. Gosh, funny the fuss they make about a little wedding. Just a few words mumbled in the church, and you're married.
Yeah, just a few words mumbled in your sleep, and you're divorced.
I get tired listening to these people argue, so when I see Rita coming into other end of patio, I hurry over to meet her.
Where is Jim, General Esteban? You said in the note you sent me that Jim wishes to see me.
I think perhaps he does wish to see you. But not here.
I'm going.
No, Rita, wait. I want to tell you something about your gringo friend.
I do not wish to hear it.
Get out of my way. General Esteban, I want to talk to you.
Go ahead.
A servant of yours entered my room and ransacked my bag.
In this town, we do not bother with the search warrant when we deal with a suspicious character, Captain Stewart.
Captain Stewart?
See, my Rita, your friend, he is captain of the Texas Rangers.
Jim, is this true?
Yes, Rita.
Listen, Captain Stewart, I have always prided myself that I am the good host. And since you are in my patio, I treat you like the guest. But if you do not leave in the 5 minutes...
What will you do?
I go to give the orders now to shoot you. Adios, senor.
Go, Jim, please.
I can't, Rita. I'm looking for someone.
Who?
I can't tell you yet. But remember, Rita, no matter what happens, I love you.
Oh, no, you mustn't, Jim, please. There are too many people. You mustn't make love to me.
Well, then let's waltz.
Waltz?
Yes. That way I can at least hold you in my arms.
Okay, let's waltz.
If you're in love, you'll waltz. To waltz is but to dream, for there's a simple charm that holds you arm in arm. A pair of smiling eyes that love and sympathize. You'll laugh and you'll forget your faults. If you're in love, you'll waltz.
You're right, my Jimmy. It's so wonderful in your arms. I could waltz forever.
Not forever, Rita. Remember, you promised someday that...
Yes. Someday I'm going to be your wife.
Oh, let me hold you closer, Rita.
My heart to heart will tell life's sweetest story. Hold me in your arms. Hold me in your arms, for there's a simple charm that holds you arm in arm. With smiling eyes that love and sympathize. You'll laugh and you'll forget your faults. If you're in love, you'll
When I come back onto the patio, I see Rita in Jim's arms again. But I am very cool when I say, Rita, I cannot see you made a fool of by a gringo.
How did he make the fool of me?
This gringo, he is after your brother.
I do not believe it.
Ask him.
Jim, is it true?
Yes, Rita, your brother is the kinkajou.
The king... Oh, now I know you make the silly jokes.
He make the love to you, my Rita, so it can help him to get your brother.
You lie.
I prove it to you. Captain Stewart, if you wish to catch the kinkajou, you better make the hurry, because he is getting ready to run away.
Where is he?
At his ranch.
Jim!
I'm sorry, Rita.
Jim!
What did I told you,
Let go of me!
Wait, Rita. Do you love him more than your brother?
No, I hate him. But I must keep him from taking Roberto.
Do not make me worry, my Rita. Roberto is safe.
Where is he?
Inside, in my private office.
Oh.
And Jim will never bother you again. My soldados will take care of him. Soldados! Shoot the gringo who is just leaving.
No.
Get out of their way, Rita.
No.
Fire, soldados, fire!
I will not let you. I will not let you.
Rita! You do love him. You forced the guns up so they couldn't shoot straight.
Jim! Oh, you have killed him. Thank you.
Before we bring you the last act of Rio Rita, I'd like to point out that the 30 years since the armistice of November 11th, 1918, which brought to an end the hostilities of the First World War, have seen amazing developments in every department of life. And in no field have there been more new developments or greater progress than in the field of transportation. This is true of transportation on the highways, on the water, in the air, and on the rails. Between the end of the First World War and the beginning of the Second, the railroads of the United States spent an average of $500 million a year on the improvement of their plant and facilities. Much of the improvement was undramatic, straightening out curves, cutting down grades, putting in better signals or communications, improving shop machinery and practices, as well as building and buying new and better engines and cars. But when the great test of the Second World War came, these undramatic improvements, made and continued year after year, paid off for the nation. For despite all the other developments, and even after all the billions of public funds which had been spent on other ways of transportation, when emergency came, it was to its railroads that the nation turned. It was the railroads which carried 90% of the war freight and 97% of the organized military travel. And nothing has happened since the war which in any way diminishes the importance, indeed the absolute necessity, of maintaining in full force and vigor these railroads, which in time of peace are essential to commerce, and in time of war are vital to victory. The Railroad Hour show train will return in just a moment after a brief pause for station identification. Now back to Rio Rita, starring Margot, Marion Hutton, Sweeney, and March, and your host, Gordon MacRae.
A couple of days they go by, and I see no sign of Captain Jim Stewart. Meanwhile, I keep Roberto out of sight at the Club Esteban, which is the floating nightclub I own in the Rio Grande. By this time, I am so sick of the women that when I see a gringo dame coming up the gangplank, I make the quick duck. So when she speaks to the lawyer, the Senor Ed Lovett, I am happy. Because she is not so good looking anyways.
Pardon me. I'm looking for a gentleman by the name of Lovett. They told me at the hotel that he was here at the Club Esteban.
Madam, you have the honor to be speaking to that broad-shouldered, irresistible chap right now.
Oh, really? Well, I'm Mrs. Bean.
Oh, you're the first Mrs. Bean. In other words, you're the has-been.
Mr. Lovett, I am not going to let Chick put anything over on me.
Now, Mrs. Bean, I suggest that you make arrangements to collect alimony from Chick and then go back home.
I don't want alimony, Mr. Lovett. My uncle just died and left me $3 million.
What? How much?
In the neighborhood of $3 million.
That's my favorite neighborhood. Step right into my office. Tell me, my dear girl, why do you waste your time on a jerk like Chick Bean? Don't you know how beautiful you are? Don't you know you have charm? 3 million charms? Listen, sugar, just what advice did your lawyer give you before you came down here?
He told me to say no to everything.
Sounds like a very wise man, baby. Do you mind if I put my arm around your waist?
No.
Baby, you and I are going to have a lot of fun. If you're on the level about this. Do you mind if I...
Oh, Chicky, dear, look who's here. Ed Lovett and some woman.
Yeah, isn't she a frump? What? Oh, good gosh, it's my wife.
What?
I mean my ex-wife. Hello, Katie. How are you? This is Dolly. My future, meet my past.
Well, my dear, you certainly know a good thing when somebody else has it. Ha, ha.
Ha, ha. Do you want him back?
No, you can have him.
Oh, thank you, Katie.
He's nothing but an insignificant little runt.
Oh, now, wait a minute. He may be a runt, but he's not insignificant.
Oh, thank you, Dolly.
Mrs. Bean, there's something I want to ask you.
Yes?
How would you like to see your name on my tombstone?
Oh, will you take good care of me?
And how? You don't realize how valuable you are to me.
Oh, am I really, Ed?
Oh, you certainly are. And it isn't the $3 million I'm thinking about either. I'd love you if you only had $2 million. Not as much, but very nearly.
What's that?
They're firing at somebody. Look, it's Jim Stewart. He's headed this way.
Rita. Where's Rita? I've got to see her.
Okay, Jim, we'll find her for you. Dolly, you wait here.
Oh, you're crazy, Jim, to risk your neck like this.
Well, that's the way it is, Dolly, when you fall in love.
Why don't you practice my philosophy?
Well, what is it?
Well, when things look darkest for me, I just keep singing. I'll spend my days chasing after sunshine. Someday one ray may steal through. Can't change my ways, always hoping sometime someone else may learn to care as I do. There's only one beneath the sun that I've ever found. If he would smile on me a while, 'twould change things all around. Until then, I'll spend my days chasing after sunshine, following the sun around.
I think you've got something there, Dolly.
Well, now you try it yourself and see how much better you feel.
I'll spend my days chasing after sunshine. Someday one ray may steal through. Can't change my ways, always hoping sometime someone else may learn to care as I do. There's only one beneath the sun that I've ever found. If she would smile on me a while, 'twould change things all around. Until then, I'll spend my days chasing after sunshine, following the sun
I listened to that song waiting for Rita to show up, and sure enough, she does. I have them all trapped now. So I begin to carry out my plans while they talk.
Jim, oh, Jim.
Rita, darling.
Jim, General Esteban has many soldiers here tonight. They will kill you. You must go quickly.
Not till you tell me you love me.
I love you, Jim.
Gonzalez, place your men at the gangways.
Oh, Jim, he knows you're here. They will catch you. You cannot get away.
I'm not licked yet, darling, and I've got an idea. Look, try and keep Esteban busy for a couple of minutes. I'll be right back.
Rita, have you seen the gringo? One of my men tell me they see him come aboard this barge.
Then why you do not ask your man where he is?
Because I am asking you.
Oh, you're hurting
Tell me, have you seen him? Tell me.
Take your hands off my sister, Esteban. Take them off.
You dare to take the pokes at me? Lopez, shoot this Roberto. He is the Kinkajou.
That is not so, Esteban.
It is so. If I say it is so, it is so. Shoot him, Lopez.
Hold it. You can't shoot that man.
Ah, the gringo. He shows himself. Shoot him too, Lopez.
I'd recall that order if I were you, Esteban.
You are telling me what to do, huh? I am the head man of this district. I do what I please.
You're not the head man of this district, General. You're in Texas now.
Texas?
That's right. I cut the cables, and this barge has drifted across the river. We're in Texas.
He is right. This is Texas, and here come the Rangers.
Don't try to get away, Roberto. You're under arrest.
So it was for this you came back. Oh, I despise you. I hate you more than ever.
Rita, let me explain.
Do not speak to me. Not now.
Esteban!
What you want, gringo?
I want you, General Esteban. You're under arrest.
Arrest me? You make the talk like the crazy one.
I don't think the judge will think I'm crazy, Esteban. When I show him the proof that you are the Kinkajou.
Jim, is this true?
Yes, Rita. Esteban is the Kinkajou. I had to pretend that I thought it was your brother in order to get the proof against him. Arrest him, men.
You cannot do this to me. No, it cannot be did. Not to me, General Romero Joselito.
What?
Well, maybe it can.
Come, men. Take him away.
We're all pals together.
Well, anyways, I get a nice horseback ride out of it. But I have fun. I fool you, all the time? You do not guess it was me, it was the Kinkajou, Oh, you did, Okay. Well, they will not hold me long, because the courthouse where they take me is named Esteban Courthouse, and I am very familiar with the judge, who is my cousin, Pablo Esteban, Jr. And maybe I still win Rita, too, because you know who rides with me by my side, out of Rita's reach? Listen.
Oh, Rita, Senorita, goodbye, dear heart.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is Gordon MacRae giving a special vote of thanks to our 4 guest stars this evening, Margot, Marion Hutton, and Sweeney and March, and to the other members of tonight's cast for their fine performance in our production of Rio Rito, which was adapted for radio by Ed Gardner. Well, next week, our star-studded show train will arrive on the same tracks and at the same time. On board will be Dorothy Kirsten, Lucille Norman, and Francis X. Bushman to join me in bringing you Rudolph Frimmel's famous Vagabond King, with our chorus under the direction of Norman Luboff and the music arranged and conducted by Carmen Dragon. Well, it looks as though we're ready to pull out. So, until next week, goodbye. And remember, during the coming week, as always, the American railroads will provide for you the dependable low-cost transportation which is so essential to the American way of living.
This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
The Everlasting Man by G.K. Chesterton. Book 2, On the Man Called Christ. Chapter 1, The God in the Cave. This sketch of the human story began in a cave, the cave which popular science associates with the caveman, and in which practical discovery has really found archaic drawings of animals. The second half of human history, which was like a new creation of the world, also begins in a cave. There is even a shadow of such a fancy in the fact that animals were again present, for it was a cave used as a stable by the mountaineers of the uplands about Bethlehem, who still drive their cattle into such holes and caverns at night. It was here that a homeless couple had crept underground with the cattle, when the doors of the crowded caravanserai had been shut in their faces. And it was here, beneath the very feet of the passers-by, in a cellar under the very floor of the world, that Jesus Christ was born. But in that second creation there was indeed something symbolical in the roots of the primeval rock or the horns of the prehistoric herd. God also was a caveman, and had also traced strange shapes of creatures curiously colored upon the wall of the world. But the pictures that he made had come to life. A mass of legend and literature, which increases and will never end, has repeated and rung the changes on that simple paradox, that the hands that had made the sun and stars were too small to reach the huge heads of the cattle. Upon this paradox, we might almost say upon this jest, all the literature of our faith is founded. It is at least like a jest in this, that it is something which the scientific critic cannot see. He laboriously explains the difficulty which we have always defiantly and almost derisively exaggerated, and mildly condemns as improbable something that we have almost madly exalted as incredible, as something that would be much too good to be true, except that it is true. When that contrast between the cosmic creation and the little local infancy has been repeated, reiterated, underlined, emphasized, exulted in, sung, shouted, roared, not to say howled, in 100,000 hymns, carols, rhymes, rituals, pictures, poems, and popular sermons, it may be suggested that we hardly need a higher critic to draw our attention to something a little odd about it, especially one of the sort that seems to take a long time to see a joke, even his own joke. But about this contrast and combination of ideas, one thing may be said here, because it is relevant to the whole thesis of this book. The sort of modern critic of whom I speak is generally much impressed with the importance of education in life, and the importance of psychology in education. That sort of man is never tired of telling us that first impressions fix character by the law of causation, and he will become quite nervous if a child's visual sense is poisoned by the wrong colors on a gollywog, or his nervous system prematurely shaken by a cacophonous rattle. Yet he will think us very narrow-minded if we say that this is exactly why there really is a difference between being brought up as a Christian and being brought up as a Jew or a Moslem or an atheist. The difference is that every Catholic child has learned from pictures, and even every Protestant child from stories, this incredible combination of contrasted ideas as one of the very first impressions on his mind. It is not merely a theological difference. It is a psychological difference which can outlast any theologies. It really is, as that sort of scientist loves to say about anything, incurable. Any agnostic or atheist whose childhood has known a real Christmas has ever afterwards, whether he likes it or not, an association in his mind between two ideas that most of mankind must regard as remote from each other: the idea of a baby and the idea of unknown strength that sustains the stars. His instincts and imagination can still connect them when his reason can no longer see the need of the connection. For him, there will always be some savor of religion about the mere picture of a mother and a baby, some hint of mercy and softening about the mere mention of the dreadful name of God. But the two ideas are not naturally or necessarily combined. They would not be necessarily combined for an ancient Greek or a Chinaman, even for Aristotle or Confucius. It is no more inevitable to connect God with an infant than to connect gravitation with a kitten. It has been created in our minds by Christmas because we are Christians, because we are psychological Christians even when we are not theological ones. In other words, this combination of ideas has emphatically, in the much disputed phrase, altered human nature. There is really a difference between the man who knows it and the man who does not. It may not be a difference of moral worth, for the Moslem or the Jew might be worthier according to his lights, but it is a plain fact about the crossing of two particular lights, the conjunction of two stars in our particular horoscope. Omnipotence and impotence, or divinity and infancy, do definitely make a sort of epigram which a million repetitions cannot turn into a platitude. It is not unreasonable to call it unique. Bethlehem is emphatically a place where extremes meet. Here begins, it is needless to say, another mighty influence for the humanization of Christendom. If the world wanted what is called a non-controversial aspect of Christianity, it would probably select Christmas. Yet it is obviously bound up with what is supposed to be a controversial aspect. I could never at any stage of my opinions imagine why. The respect paid to the Blessed Virgin. When I was a boy, a more Puritan generation objected to a statue upon my parish church representing the Virgin and Child. After much controversy, they compromised by taking away the child. One would think that this was even more corrupted with Mariolatry, unless the mother was counted less dangerous when deprived of a sort of weapon. But the practical difficulty is also a parable. You cannot chip away the statue of a mother from all round that of a newborn child. You cannot suspend the newborn child in mid-air. Indeed, you cannot really have a statue of a newborn child at all. Similarly, you cannot suspend the idea of a newborn child in the void, or think of him without thinking of his mother. You cannot visit the child without visiting the mother. You cannot, in common human life, approach the child except through the mother. If we are to think of Christ in this aspect at all, the other idea follows as it is followed in history. We must either leave Christ out of Christmas or Christmas out of Christ. Or we must admit, if only as we admit it in an old picture, that those holy heads are too near together for the halos not to mingle and cross. It might be suggested, in a somewhat violent image, that nothing had happened in that fold or crack in the great gray hills, except that the whole universe had been turned inside out. I mean, that all the eyes of wonder and worship which had been turned outward to the largest thing were now turned inward to the smallest. The very image will suggest all that multitudinous marvel of converging eyes that makes so much of the colored Catholic imagery, like a peacock's tail. But it is true in a sense that God, who had been only a circumference, was seen as a center, and a center is infinitely small. It is true that the spiritual spiral henceforward works inwards instead of outwards, and in that sense is centripetal and not centrifugal. The faith becomes, in more ways than one, a religion of little things. But its traditions in art and literature and popular fable have quite sufficiently attested, as has been said, this particular paradox of the divine being in the cradle. Perhaps they have not so clearly emphasized the significance of the divine being in the cave. Curiously enough, indeed, tradition has not very clearly emphasized the cave. It is a familiar fact that the Bethlehem scene has been represented in every possible setting of time and country, of landscape and architecture, and it is a wholly happy and admirable fact that men have conceived it as quite different, according to their different individual traditions and tastes. But while all have realized that it was a stable, not so many have realized that it was a cave. Some critics have even been so silly as to suppose that there was some contradiction between the stable and the cave, in which case they cannot know much about caves or stables in Palestine. As they see differences that are not there, it is needless to add that they do not see differences that are there. When a well-known critic says, for instance, that Christ, being born in a rocky cavern, is like Mithras having sprung alive out of a rock, it sounds like a parody upon comparative religion. There is such a thing as the point of a story, even if it is a story in the sense of a lie, and the notion of a hero appearing like Pallas from the brain of Zeus, mature and without a mother, is obviously the very opposite of the idea of a god being born like an ordinary baby and entirely dependent upon a mother. Whichever ideal we might prefer, we should surely see that they are contrary ideals. It is as stupid to connect them because they both contain a substance called stone as to identify the punishment of the deluge with the baptism in the Jordan, because they both contain a substance called water. Whether as a myth or a mystery, Christ was obviously conceived as born in a hole in the rocks, primarily because it marked the position of one outcast and homeless. Nevertheless, it is true, as I have said, that the cave has not been so commonly or so clearly used as a symbol as the other realities that surrounded the first Christmas. And the reason for this also refers to the very nature of that new world. It was, in a sense, the difficulty of a new dimension. Christ was not only born on the level of the world, but even lower than the world. The first act of the divine drama was enacted, not only on no stage set up above the sightseer, but on a darkened curtain stage, sunken out of sight. And that is an idea very difficult to express in most modes of artistic expression. It is the idea of simultaneous happenings on different levels of life. Something like it might have been attempted in the more archaic and decorative medieval art, but the more the artists learned of realism and perspective, the less they could depict at once the angels in the heavens and the shepherds on the hills, and the glory in the darkness that was underneath the hills. Perhaps it could have been best conveyed by the characteristic expedient of some of the medieval guilds, when they wheeled about the streets a theater with 3 stages, one above the other, with heaven above the earth and hell under the earth. But in the riddle of Bethlehem, it was heaven that was under the earth. There is in that alone the touch of a revolution, as of the world turned upside down. It would be vain to attempt to say anything adequate or anything new about the change which this conception of a deity, born like an outcast or even an outlaw, had upon the whole conception of law and its duties to the poor and outcast. It is profoundly true to say that after that moment there could be no slaves. There could be and were people bearing that legal title until the church was strong enough to weed them out. But there could be no more of the pagan repose in the mere advantage to the state of keeping it a servile state. Individuals became important in a sense in which no instruments can be important. A man could not be a means to an end, at any rate to any other man's end. All this popular and fraternal element in the story has been rightly attached by tradition to the episode of the shepherds, the hinds who found themselves talking face to face with the princes of heaven. But there is another aspect of the popular element as represented by the shepherds, which has not perhaps been so fully developed, and which is more directly relevant here. Men of the people, like the shepherds, men of the popular tradition, had everywhere been the makers of the mythologies. It was they who had felt most directly, with least check or chill from philosophy or the corrupt cults of civilization, the need we have already considered, the images that were adventures of the imagination, the mythology that was a sort of search, the tempting and tantalizing hints of something half-human in nature, the dumb significance of seasons and special places. They had best understood that the soul of a landscape is a story, and the soul of a story is a personality. But rationalism had already begun to rot away these really irrational, though imaginative, treasures of the peasant. Even as systematic slavery had eaten the peasant out of house and home, upon all such peasantries everywhere there was descending a dusk and a twilight of disappointment in the hour when these few men discovered what they sought. Everywhere else Arcadia was fading from the forest. Pan was dead, and the shepherds were scattered like sheep. And though no man knew it, the hour was near which was to end and to fulfill all things. And though no man heard it, there was one far-off cry in an unknown tongue upon the heaving wilderness of the mountains. The shepherds had found their shepherd. And the thing they found was of a kind with the things they sought. The populace had been wrong in many things, but they had not been wrong in believing that holy things could have a habitation, and that divinity need not disdain the limits of time and space. And the barbarian who conceived the crudest fancy about the sun being stolen and hidden in a box, or the wildest myth about the god being rescued and his enemy deceived with a stone, was nearer to the secret of the cave, and knew more about the crisis of the world than all those in the circle of cities round the Mediterranean who had become content with cold abstractions or cosmopolitan generalizations, than all those who were spinning thinner and thinner threads of thought out of the transcendentalism of Plato or the Orientalism of Pythagoras. The place that the shepherds found was not an academy or an abstract republic. It was not a place of myths allegorized or dissected or explained away. It was a place of dreams come true. Since that hour, no mythologies have been made in the world. Mythology is a search. We all know that the popular presentation of this popular story in so many miracle plays and carols has given to the shepherds the costumes, the language, and the landscape of the separate English and European countrysides. We all know that one shepherd will talk in a Somerset dialect, or another talk of driving his sheep from Conway towards Clyde. Most of us know by this time how true is that error, how wise, how artistic, how intensely Christian and Catholic is that anachronism. But some who have seen it in these scenes of medieval rusticity have perhaps not seen it in another sort of poetry, which it is sometimes the fashion to call artificial rather than artistic. I fear that many modern critics will see only a faded classicism in the fact that men like Crashaw and Herrick conceived the shepherds of Bethlehem under the form of the shepherds of Virgil. Yet they were profoundly right, and in turning their Bethlehem play into a Latin eclogue, they took up one of the most important links in human history. Virgil, as we have already seen, does stand for all that saner heathenism that had overthrown the insane heathenism of human sacrifice. But the very fact that even the Virgilian virtues and the sane heathenism were in incurable decay is the whole problem to which the revelation to the shepherds is the solution. If the world had ever had the chance to grow weary of being demoniac, it might have been healed merely by becoming sane. But if it had grown weary even of being sane, what was to happen except what did happen? Nor is it false to conceive the Arcadian shepherd of the eclogues as rejoicing in what did happen. One of the eclogues has even been claimed as a prophecy of what did happen. But it is quite as much in the tone and incidental diction of the great poet that we feel the potential sympathy with the great event. And even in their own human phrases, the voices of the Virgilian shepherds might more than once have broken upon more than the tenderness of Italy. Incipe parve puer, risu cognoscere matrem. They might have found in that strange place all that was best in the last traditions of the Latins, and something better than a wooden idol standing up forever for the pillar of the human family, a household god. But they and all the other mythologists would be justified in rejoicings that the event had fulfilled not merely the mysticism, but the materialism of mythology. Mythology had many sins, but it had not been wrong in being as carnal as the Incarnation. But something of the ancient voice that was supposed to have rung through the graves, it could cry again. We have seen, he hath seen us, a visible God. So the ancient shepherds might have danced, and their feet have been beautiful upon the mountains, rejoicing over the philosophers. But the philosophers had also heard. End of Part 1 of Book 2, Chapter 1. It is still a strange story, though an old one, how they came out of Orient lands, crowned with the majesty of kings, and clothed with something of the mystery of magicians. The truth that is tradition has wisely remembered them almost as unknown quantities, as mysterious as their mysterious and melodious names, Melchior, Caspar, Balthazar. But there came with them all that world of wisdom that had watched the stars in Chaldea and the sun in Persia, and we shall not be wrong if we see in them the same curiosity that moves all the sages. They would stand for the same human ideal if their names had really been Confucius or Pythagoras or Plato. They were those who sought not tales, but the truth of things. And since their thirst for truth was itself a thirst for God, they also have had their reward. But even in order to understand that reward, we must understand that for philosophy as much as mythology, that reward was the completion of the incomplete. Such learned men would doubtless have come, as these learned men did come, to find themselves confirmed in much that was true in their own traditions and right in their own reasoning. Confucius would have found a new foundation for the family in the very reversal of the Holy Family. Buddha would have looked upon a new renunciation of stars rather than jewels, and divinity rather than royalty. these learned men would still have the right to say, or rather a new right to say, that there was truth in their old teaching. But after all, these learned men would have come to learn. They would have come to complete their conceptions with something they had not yet conceived, even to balance their imperfect universe with something they might once have contradicted. Buddha would have come from his impersonal paradise to worship a person. Confucius would have come from his temples of ancestor worship to worship a child. We must grasp from the first this character in the new cosmos, that it was larger than the old cosmos. In that sense, Christendom is larger than creation, as creation had been before Christ. It included things that had not been there. It also included the things that had been there. The point happens to be well illustrated in this example of Chinese piety, but it would be true of other pagan virtues or pagan beliefs. Nobody can doubt that a reasonable respect for parents is part of a gospel in which God himself was subject in childhood to earthly parents. But the other sense, in which the parents were subject to him, does introduce an idea that is not Confucian. The infant Christ is not like the infant Confucius. Our mysticism conceives him in an immortal infancy. I do not know what Confucius would have done with the bambino had it come to life in his arms as it did in the arms of St. Francis. But this is true in relation to all the other religions and philosophies. It is the challenge of the Church. The Church contains what the world does not contain. Life itself does not provide as she does for all sides of life. That every other system is narrow and insufficient compared to this one, that is not a rhetorical boast. It is a real fact and a real dilemma. Where is the Holy Child amid the Stoics and the ancestor worshippers? Where is Our Lady of the Moslems, a woman made for no man and set above all angels? Where is Saint Michael of the monks of Buddha, rider and master of the trumpets, guarding for every soldier the honor of the sword? What could St. Thomas Aquinas do with the mythology of Brahmanism, he who set forth all the science and rationality and even rationalism of Christianity? Yet, even if we compare Aquinas with Aristotle at the other extreme of reason, we shall find the same sense of something added. Aquinas could understand the most logical parts of Aristotle. It is doubtful if Aristotle could have understood the most mystical parts of Aquinas. Even where we can hardly call the Christian greater, we are forced to call him larger. But it is so to whatever philosophy or heresy or modern movement we may turn. How would Francis the Troubadour have fared among the Calvinists, or for that matter, among the utilitarians of the Manchester school? Yet men like Bossuet and Pascal could be as stern and logical as any Calvinist or utilitarian. How would St. Joan of Arc, a woman waving on men to war with the sword, have fared among the Quakers, or the Doukhobors, or the Tolstoyan sect of pacifists? Yet any number of Catholic saints have spent their lives in preaching peace and preventing wars. It is the same with all the modern attempts at syncretism. They are never able to make something larger than the creed without leaving something out. I do not mean leaving out something divine, but something human. The flag, or the N, or the boy's tale of battle, or the hedge at the end of the field. The Theosophists build a pantheon, but it is only a pantheon for pantheists. They call a parliament of religion as a reunion of all the peoples. but is only a reunion of all the prigs. Yet exactly such a pantheon had been set up 2,000 years before by the shores of the Mediterranean, and Christians were invited to set up the image of Jesus side by side with the image of Jupiter, of Mithras, of Osiris, of Attis, or of Ammon. It was the refusal of the Christians that was the turning point of history. If the Christians had accepted, they and the whole world would have certainly, in a grotesque but exact metaphor, gone to pot. They would all have been boiled down to one lukewarm liquid in that great pot of cosmopolitan corruption, in which all the other myths and mysteries were already melting. It was an awful and an appalling escape. Nobody understands the nature of the Church, or the ringing note of the creed descending from antiquity, who does not realize that the whole world once very nearly died of broad-mindedness and the brotherhood of all religions. Here it is the important point that the Magi, who stand for mysticism and philosophy, are truly conceived as seeking something new and even as finding something unexpected. That tense sense of crisis which still tingles in the Christmas story, and even in every Christmas celebration, accentuates the idea of a search and a discovery. The discovery is, in this case, truly a scientific discovery. For the other mystical figures in the miracle play, for the angel and the mother, the shepherds and the soldiers of Herod, there may be aspects both simpler and more supernatural, more elemental or more emotional. But the wise men must be seeking wisdom, and for them there must be a light also in the intellect. And this is the light, that the Catholic creed is Catholic, and that nothing else is Catholic. The philosophy of the Church is universal. The philosophy of the philosophers was not universal. Had Plato and Pythagoras and Aristotle stood for an instant in the light that came out of that little cave, they would have known that their own light was not universal. It is far from certain, indeed, that they did not know it already. Philosophy also, like mythology, had very much the air of a search. It is the realization of this truth that gives its traditional majesty and mystery to the figures of the three kings. The discovery that religion is broader than philosophy, and that this is the broadest of religions, contained within this narrow space. The magicians were gazing at the strange pentacle with the human triangle reversed, and they have never come to the end of their calculations about it. For it is the paradox of that group in the cave that while our emotions about it are of childish simplicity, our thoughts about it can branch with a never-ending complexity, and we can never reach the end even of our own ideas about the child who was a father and the mother who was a child. We might well be content to say that mythology had come with the shepherds and philosophy with the philosophers, and that it only remained for them to combine in the recognition of religion. But there was a third element